Baltimore. It's like, people could shoot you. I don't think I'm going to chase this guy and scream at him.
Yeah.
So I've chilled a lot. But yeah, Atlanta traffic's awful. Everybody knows that.
But other than that, my week was fun.
Good.
So
glad you had a good time, man.
Yeah, great time.
Well, happy to have you back. Well, Dave's happy to have you back. Wes and Chris are happy to have you back.
I said nothing's on fire.
Jalen's happy to have you back. Sam's happy to have you back. Jack's happy to have you back. So you got a whole crew of people.
What's the common denominator of who they had to work with last week?
I have no idea what you're talking about. All right, so obviously, as we come out of the weekend, the good news is the softball team rolling off to the Supers for the first time in a while, and it's just another chapter to what has been a phenomenal first season.
Been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it, obviously, but by comparison, it makes baseball look that much worse.
Yeah, that's it depends on how you want to look at it. You can say, wow, this really good run by the softball team under their first-year coach makes this awful season by the baseball team from their first coach even awfuler. Or you can go like this. Thank God this softball team is having such a great first year under their new coach because it can take my mind off this awful baseball team.
Let's give a shout-out to women's sports on both fronts because women's basketball was at least your outlet for a terrible men's basketball season, and softball is your outlet for a terrible baseball season.
Yeah. And here's the other ironic part of all this. Is that just the way things go, because no two things are the same. Ray Tanner hired both of these softball and baseball coaches.
Yep, and both coaches were hired to programs that were good, but not great. Softball was making regionals.
Yeah, all right.
Baseball was making regionals. They made a Super 2 years ago, but the thought was the coaches that they had between Bev Smith and Mark Kingston were not doing enough to elevate them to that next level.
They've reached the ceiling.
Yes, and again, if you would have asked anybody a year ago when both these coaches were hired, hey, which one of these is going to have a chance to take its team to a super regional and maybe to a World Series in year number one? 95% of people would have said, of course, it's going to be Paul Mainieri.
It's a no-brainer, right?
Sure.
Well, and so we've seen everything just get flipped upside down. And there's nothing against, Coach Chastain Woodard, but Mainieri has been to the College World Series 6 times with 2 different programs.
He had the resume.
He had a great resume. And, even me, look, I got the whole thing of people talking about, well, he's been out of the game 3 years. He's 67 years old. We still have a fastball. I got all of that for concern. I did.
Sure.
But I was just like, I expected this. I expected this dude's going to come in. I didn't think he was going to go to Omaha or even compete for Omaha this year. But I thought the program, we would see definite improvement in the program and it'd be going in that right direction for in 2 or 3 years when Mainieri says, okay, I put you back at Omaha. I've got this back on the right track. Who's next? Here. I thought that process would start this year, and I thought they'd be back in the NCAAs at worst, right? Oh, no, at best,
again,
maybe, or
that's
whatever.
what they were last year when you moved on from Coach Kingston.
Right.
So it's like, okay, you should at very least be in the tournament. Now, hosting's a different question, but at least be in the field of 64, which outside of going on a miracle run in the next 5 days ain't going to happen.
The odds of that miracle run. If this was a Disney movie,
sure,
maybe we got something.
This is the point where you give the fiery locker room speech and everybody believes in themselves and plays the best 5 games of their life.
It's Kurt Russell, Emilio Estevez, Al Pacino, whatever. That's what we're looking for right now. And the flip side is how good softball's been. They're going to the Super. They're going to take on UCLA here in Columbia. And, if you go, what's the big deal? Well, the top seed in the women's NCAA softball tournament just went home.
Yes, they did, to Liberty.
Texas A&M got beat by Liberty.
Yep.
And we were laughing about it upstairs because, again, the whole Texas A&M athletic dynamic, it comes off as a big cult to me. It just does. And the worse they want to win and the more money they throw at winning and the harder they try, they always seem to come up short in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
All the time.
Yep.
And now that disease just hit the softball team.
Yeah. Times are tough in College Station right now.
All that money and you still can't hang banners, man. All right, so getting to that Super is my point. That's fantastic. I think Georgia made it. They got through. People didn't think they were going to. Also, Ole Miss got through. Did Alabama? I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
But LSU did get beat as well.
They did.
So not just Texas A&M got upset over the weekend. So getting to that Super is a big deal. First year for Coach Chastain Woodard. So congratulations, softball team. Baseball-wise, Pete Nakos has some thoughts. on what's going to happen in this offseason for Carolina baseball.
And it may not make a lot of people here happy.
Some people might be happy. A lot of people won't be. And we'll get into that in the next segment. I'll give you this. First of all, the most important thing here, fellas, Bojangles upstairs on the 19th floor. So we'll send you guys one at a time so you can go grab something.
They were waiting for me to come back.
Well, they were waiting for Dave to come down here before they brought the food.
I see.
Dave, here, let me tell you a little story with
Wait,
Dave.
Dave didn't dress up today. Dave usually dresses up on food days.
For food. Yeah, where's your Bojangles suit today, Dave?
Left it at home.
So Dave, because Dave's only a little paranoid about his his employment.
Only a little.
So we were up on, what was that, Thursday or Friday? We were upstairs and we were talking with our market manager, and so Dave goes, yeah, I noticed that you only schedule this food stuff for when I'm not here. And we were like, yeah, Dave, we have a meeting, and we look over, and Tammy will look at me and go, what's Dave's days off? And I'll give her the days off. That's when she schedules the food. So then we were like, no, Dave, you're lucky because this time it's at 11:30 on Monday. So Dave gets upstairs. It's 11:30. It's 11:40. It's 11:45. It's 11:50. It was about 11:52, Dave.
Yep.
So ready for this. So I'm looking at my phone. It's about 11:53. It's Dave Adair calling, from one of his burner phones. So I answer the phone, and Dave goes, hey, I'm at the elevator. Guess what? The food just got here.
Wow.
He called me, Tyler.
Perfect
He
time.
calls me from 10 feet away to tell me the food's here, and he's got to go downstairs.
It's noteworthy.
The man's paranoia never stops.
Now
So-
Cassidy and Ginny are in on this conspiracy too. That's Kim.
So, Tyler, in this our commercial break, you go get food.
Okay.
Because Tammy told me Dave can't go back.
Okay, fair
He
enough.
can't go back.
Dave, if I can find something for you, I'll bring you
Oh,
something
no,
back.
no. They'll frisk you to make sure
Yeah.
you're not giving Dave food.
Well, now they can see on cameras if he gets something, too.
That's true.
It's like in Severance, you get on the elevator with food, in Severance,
I don't
you
watch
go,
Severance, Dave. It bored me.
Oh,
It bored me, Dave.
Did you finally give it a chance?
No, I haven't gotten
No.
past that first 5 or 10 minutes. It put me to sleep. But I will, Dave, you know what? Tonight, there's no sports tonight. There's
That's
no NBA
correct.
playoffs. There's no NHL playoffs. There's just like Major League Baseball, which I can keep up with another way. Plus, my Orioles are in last place.
Well, they fired their manager.
And they fired the manager, which, anyway. So I will try to watch Severance tonight, and we will talk about this tomorrow.
yeah,
Fair?
Let's get through where Boehner gets bashed in the head with a baseball bat.
Well, see, I'm already in. I
Boom.
just might bash the head with a bat. Now I'm changed my mind on this thing. All right, we will come back. Tyler will get food, and we will come back, and Dave will eventually send you just in time for all the food to be gone. We'll come back. Pete Nakos of On 3, some thoughts on the South Carolina baseball head coaching gig and what could happen in this offseason and what he's been hearing, which is some of the stuff that we've heard from Gamecock Central as well, to be fair. We'll get to that next on the halftime show. Terry Ford, David Dare, Tyler Head, going up until 3 on the game. We are hanging. Rolling the halftime show up until 3 here on the game. Terry Ford, Tyler Head went to get Bojangles. We'll send you next, Dave, if there's anything left. They were going at it harsh upstairs. Just telling you, there might be something left for you.
I'm sure Bojangles is good. Really good.
So, Tyler will be back shortly. As we been talking about baseball over the weekend, it was tough for the baseball team, good for the softball team. Pete Nakos from On 3 talking about baseball jobs to watch. And Pete has South Carolina. In year one, this is what Pete Nakos says, quote, in year one with the Gamecocks has not gone as planned for Paul Maneri, a national champion at LSU. The coach took the Tigers to 5 College World Series appearances. South Carolina ranks right now next to last in the SEC this year with only 6 wins and is set to miss the NCAA tournament. Despite the up and down first season, sources have indicated to On 3 at this point that Maneri is expected to get his second season in Columbia. So the word seems to be, Tyler, that according to sources, things are fluid. Life's fluid. But right now, sources are telling On 3 that Paul Maneri will be back at the helm of the South Carolina baseball program next year.
Yeah, and that obviously reinforces what Maneri's been telling us for the past couple of weeks, that he doesn't, plan on going anywhere. And, as we discussed, hey, with the new AD that didn't hire him and Jeremiah Donati, there's always possibility that things could go in another direction, but that doesn't seem to be the case. And, again, I think you can look at it as, okay, well, if you did move on from Maneri, well, then you're starting at zero all over again. Mm-hmm. And would you rather put your hope in a guy that has been there before and done that before? And as he alluded to on Saturday, hey, my first year at LSU was rough, not as rough as this season was. Mm-hmm. And they obviously turned it around in the year after that. May have gone to the World Series. I can't remember.
They did go to the College World Series the second year and won it in his third year. I believe
so did things, pretty quickly there in his time at, LSU. So maybe you're holding out hope that he can get things on track as opposed to saying, all right, well, let's clean the slate again. Let's start all over from scratch. We're potentially talking about another rough season in 2026 where, whoever comes in as the new head coach tries to get his footing underneath him.
Yeah, look, we were talking about this while, while you were, fiddling around in Nashville. You see the path of either outcome. There's a clear, okay, I understand why you did that, or I understand why you did that.
Sure.
Because they are. I mean, look, this season was awful, terrible, disaster, unacceptable. We've got a ton of ways to describe it, right? No one saw this coming. I mean, Paul Maneri's probably sitting in his house going, what the heck just happened here?
Yeah.
I didn't see this. Remember, Maneri came in. He wasn't going, it's going to take us a couple years to get this thing going. No, I mean, this team went to the regionals last year. The thought is you're going to at least get back to the tournament, at the very least. And obviously, that didn't happen. All right, so the two ways to see this are new AD, I didn't hire this guy. This season was off the rails terrible. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go get my guy, right?
Yep.
The other way to look at it is this, okay? Hall of Fame head coach, has been to Omaha with 2 different programs, won a national championship, has been out of the game for 3 years. So give him 1 year to get acclimated again and see the lay of the land close up. And we'll give him year 2, and we'll see if year 2 is much better. And the other part of this, I think, is the big, gigantic, ginormous Chewbacca in the room. This ain't free.
No, it's not. You do have to pay a buyout.
Right. You're going to pay, before it's all said and done, to buy out Maneri and this coaching staff. Remember, Monty Lee, I believe, the highest paid assistant in college baseball.
Yep.
So to buy out Maneri and the coaching staff, and then to go get another high-level coach and a coaching staff, you're looking at $14 to $16 million.
In a year where every dollar really, really matters because that whole revenue sharing thing's going to kick in at some point.
Mm-hmm. And then when you rev share, and you're allocating so many dollars to your football team, and you said you're going to allocate a lot more dollars to your men's basketball team. Oh, and by the way, your women's basketball team is the best program in America. And, oh, yeah, by the way, your baseball team used to be one of the best programs in America. And everybody wants these four to be really, really good, right?
Yep.
How much money you got again?
Not an infinite amount.
So, if nothing else, also, this will buy you a year to, A, see what in the heck's going on in the rev share world. Also, see how you get your collective game together in the Midlands and in the state of South Carolina and with alumni and all that others. Because again, here's the ironic part of rev share, Tyler. It's now even more important.
Of course.
Because again, if you're going to donate if you're going to allocate most of your money to football or men's basketball, and you have other programs that are really good on a high level or used to be really good on a high level, or you're in the SEC where they want everything to be good on a high level, you got to find that money from somewhere, right?
Yeah. Well, and like we talked about with especially football, paying up to that 20.5 million, whatever it is, that's just the bare minimum for competition. You have to do, again, we're talking about Texas paying $35-40 million for its roster this year. That's not going away. That's still going to be a thing. Yeah, the revenue sharing is going to take care of a lot of that, but collectives and the pay for play, as we like to call it, that's still going to exist. It's not going to go away all of a sudden.
And I know that the NCAA is going to have a warehouse that's going to check all these NIL deals to make sure. Well, that will last until they lose in court, by the way.
Sure.
You know that, right?
Until that next student athlete with a lawyer says, hey, that doesn't quite fit what I'm trying to do here.
You know what you guys are doing to me?
Violating my ability or violating my antitrust.
Yes. So that's going to go away because that's a ridiculous nonsensical idea that anybody, you don't need to be a genius to go, oh, guess what? That ain't going to work.
No.
Good luck. So you're going to still have to, collectives are even more important now because if you're going to give most of your rev share money to football and men's basketball, because we know they're dedicating more money to men's basketball.
Those are the higher two revenue sports.
Now you're going to have to go find the money to help Dawn Staley recruit high-level players and keep high-level players at South Carolina.
And that might be where a place like South Carolina is almost at a disadvantage for baseball because women's basketball is so good and is going to garner, as opposed to a lot of schools around the country where, hey, we love you, but you're not that great of a program. We're going to give more money to baseball. You can't quite do that here.
And guess what? You have to, like any of these sports now, especially in the SEC, if you're not spending money, you ain't winning.
Exactly.
Just the way this goes now. So where baseball is going to have to also be able to have the money to go spend to bring in players. And from what I was told, they were okay last year in how much money they had to spend to bring in players.
Sure.
But they're going to have to ramp it up more now.
Yeah.
So again, where's it all coming from?
Yeah.
That's the other part.
And again, we talk about you could have had the talent, but what about the development part of it? Because we looked at the numbers. So many of these guys that had success last year, either here at South Carolina or at their respective schools, a lot of their numbers dipped this year.
They regressed.
So what's happening once you get here, once you start working with this coaching staff that's causing you to be a worse player than you were a season ago?
Because that's the weird part of this. And I think that's where this gets another level of, is just the idea that, A, this season was so bad, but B, players already here didn't get better. A number of them got worse. And players you brought in, like Brandon Stone, wasn't he the number one JUCO pitcher in the country?
Yeah.
And Brandon Stone just did not have a good season. So what is going on? And here's another part. You know, the pitching coach has been with Paul Maneri a long time, Coach Rooney.
Yep. Oh, they've been connected at the hip.
I think they literally are.
Yeah.
I think we see them, they walk together like everywhere. So it's just the idea that, okay, what happened in the pitching department this year? Not to say the offense didn't have its problems. That's another question. But the pitching, I mean, wow. That thing, it all went sideways. And so what happened? And how do you fix it? And if it is something with your pitching coach who's been attached at your hip, what are you doing now?
Well, that's the thing. Is, would he be willing to move on from an assistant that has been at his side for so many years? Like, again, that's his right-hand man that he brought in here. And, again, Mine Lee was already here. And, again, Mine Lee, highest-paid assistant coach, that's a tough one to move on from if you have to do that. But, like, could Maneri, if he really felt like that was the problem, move on from Terry Rooney? Because, again, if the head coach isn't going to go, some assistant has to,
Doesn't
right?
it feel like and look, not this isn't human sacrifice to the fans, but it feels like just this thing went so wrong in so many ways. A lot of times, someone has to get pushed in front of the bus, so to speak.
You can't stay status quo and say, "Oh, everything's gonna be fine next year." Nobody's gonna believe that. Like, you have to make some kind of change somewhere in the system to make people believe that, hey, things will be better next year.
So, and again, now and offensively, this offense didn't look like anything like a Monty Lee offense we've seen the last couple of years. So
now, is that on more Lee or is that on Maneri?
Exactly. My next question: we know Coach Maneri hates walking.
Yeah. And again,
he wants you to be aggressive.
Fundamentally, he changed the philosophy of what a lot of these guys have probably come up doing when they take their at-bats.
And how much of this is going counter to Monty Lee's philosophy?
Great question.
So,
we don't know.
Again, what could happen with the coaching staff if Paul Maneri is coming back? And it feels like right now he is coming back.
A little over 24 hours from now, the season may officially be over, and we can get the ball rolling on these things.
And we'll find out. But, yeah, according to Pete Nakos on 3, Paul Maneri sources are telling on 3 that Paul Maneri will be back next year as the head coach of the South Carolina baseball team. Dave, did you get food? Did you get food, Dave?
Yes. In fact, I got the last piece of chicken. So
I told him he had to go quick because there wasn't much left.
Well, Tyler told me that he had to get physical with the salesperson.
Yeah, I had to scrap with Josh really quick.
Well, Tyler brought out the wrestling skills. It was not pretty. I hear there's blood and everything all over the carpet.
If you notice him twisted in a pretzel in the corner, that's because of me.
If I'd been 3 minutes later, all it would have gotten was green.
So you got a piece of chicken. You're good.
Yes.
All right.
Like Hunger Games up there.
Because I passed away playing sound in the second segment so Dave could get his food. So we're going to play sound coming up. It's just like Hunger Games upstairs. All right. Just in case you just woke up, maybe you missed some of the weekend, we'll give you some sound from Paul Maneri and also Ashley Chastain-Woodard as we hear about the softball team as well. That's next on the halftime show right here on The Game. All right, just in case, I don't know, maybe you've been away all weekend. We'll call it just in case you missed the weekend. We got some sound from, obviously, Carolina baseball losing 2 out of 3 to LSU. And Carolina softball moving on to the Supers by winning the regional here in Columbia. Let's start with Coach Chastain Woodard there, Dave. Her thoughts on advancing to the Supers to take on UCLA.
Yeah, I don't know if I have words, to be honest. I'm just really proud of everyone that is involved with the program. It takes a village to do something like this, and it's a special group, and I'm really excited that we're going to be right back here a week from now. And, it's just a testament to really the belief that these guys had in everything we talked about from day one. And it's really hard to do. We play in the best conference in the country, and to put ourselves in a position to host and then to come through as the regional champs and then have an opportunity to go to Supers next weekend. It's just really special. It's hard to do, and I'm really proud of the staff, proud of the players, and then really everyone that's been involved every step of the way since last summer. So I don't really have words. It'll probably take me through the summer to process it all. But right now we're just really focused on what's next, and being able to prepare, and just the opportunity to be together again another week is really special.
All right, so obviously getting to the Supers, a huge accomplishment in year one for Coach Chastain Woodard. And, obviously, coaching back at the place that means the most to you also is quite important. And just the whole thing has just been a great story for her. All right, let's get cut 9, Dave. Even though she's excited about getting to the Supers, she then talks about not looking past the Supers to getting to Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series.
Yeah, I'm going to do my best to keep him in the moment. There's no doubt, once you reach a certain point, your mind is, hey, we're a few away from the biggest stage, the stage we've always dreamed of playing on. So I think we'll definitely talk through that this week. I think at some point it becomes super motivating and inspiring that, we're so close. I think that, there comes a point where it almost works in your favor. I think when you're too far away from it, it doesn't work in your favor. But I think once you get inching closer to where you want to go, I think it puts a lot of winds in your sails. So we're going to talk a lot about it. We want to make plans to go to Oklahoma at the end of the Super Regional next weekend. And so I think it'll put wind in our sails. I'm not super worried about them being in the present moment, because at this point, they know what we got to do. So we got to win a series next weekend against a really good team that will come from the West. And I think they still have to play tonight. So I'm not so sure we know who that is going to be yet.
And then we found out it's UCLA, obviously. And look, it's always with coaching and managing, it's always, don't overlook anybody. Don't look past this. Keep we look at the next step in the process and things of that nature. But you're also having to balance the fact that you're dealing with athletes who are seeing they are 2 wins away from getting to the ultimate spot, which is Oklahoma City for the Women's College World Series. So you got to go ahead, one step at a time, blinders on, don't look past UCLA, because UCLA is, by the way, one of the most successful programs in softball.
They smoked their way through their regional as well.
Talk about dog walking, folks, man. They know what's up. They've been there a lot.
Yep.
And you obviously can't overlook it, but you do see, wow, you're 2 it's human nature, man. 2 wins away.
Sure.
And you just have to put that behind you and know you have to do the cliche, 1 game at a time, 1 pitch at a time, 1 at bat at a time, blah, 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 blah. So, all right. Now we'll flip over. Coach Maneri on Saturday, after finishing up the LSU series, let's get cut 2 real quick, Dave. Talking about what could they have done in hindsight to make them better in the SEC? Cut 2.
Well, I'm not sure what the first part of that question had to do with the last part of the question, but, listen, whenever there's a transition, there's a reason there's a transition. So, you do the best you can with the players that you have, and you try to add to it with a little bit like we did. And, we did the best we could. I thought we would be more competitive in the conference. I didn't think we had a national championship caliber team put together, but we just some days got overpowered by the other team. Their pitching was just too good for our hitters, or their hitters were too good for our pitching, and consequently we end up with the record that we did. I'm not sure what I could have done differently. We worked really hard last summer when we first got the job to add a few pieces, and some guys that we added did some good stuff for us, and some other guys that we added maybe didn't perform at the level we might have thought they would have. But yeah, the league's tough. It's unforgiving, and we've already rolled up our sleeves and are working hard at recruiting for next year to try to make our team as best as we can and better than it was this year. But we still have the SEC tournament, so I don't want to get into all that too much. We got a big game on Tuesday, and we'll get ready for that.
I know. Right now, there's a faction of the fan base picking apart everything that Coach Maneri says, and in that riff, there's a lot to pick apart. If you wanted to find ways to pick it apart, the only thing I would say is this: to say I don't know there's anything I could have done different. I think when you're the leader, whether you believe that or not, you fall on the sword, right?
Sure.
You say this. Obviously, I didn't do a good enough job coaching this team. I didn't do a good enough job of getting them prepared, of coaching them, and this is on me because I'm the head coach and the buck stops with me. I would have liked to have heard that instead of saying, I don't know what I could have done different. I feel like that's like, I don't think, and maybe he is, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think Coach Maneri is just saying, hey, I did great. These players.
Yeah.
Because that's what some people would hear that and think.
Sure.
I don't think he's really saying it that way, but without stepping out yourself and saying, let's start with me, because I'm the head coach.
Yeah.
I got to do better next year. I got to jump into the, in the film room, shut the door, watch everything we did all year long, and pop back out with a better plan for next year.
Well, again, when you say, well, I don't really know what we could have done differently, it's like, okay, does that instill confidence in me that you're going to be able to figure it out this offseason? If you couldn't figure it out last offseason, what makes me think this one's going to be any different? And again, we're kind of picking things apart with a fine-tooth comb here, but when you're in a situation where you've had legitimately your worst season since you've joined the SEC over 30 years ago, I think everything's on the table to be critical of.
And really what you say is going to matter a ton.
Yes.
I mean, like, we'll talk about...
You don't have the benefit of the doubt anymore.
No. Like, if Ashley Chastain would say something about, like, anything that Paul Maneri says in the same kind of way, could say the same quote about something, and we would look at it totally different.
Well, and Preston brought it up really good this morning because Chastain Woodard, after the game on Sunday, said, I have no words. And when she says that, that's great because she has no words to contain how good of a season this has been. When Paul Maneri says, I have no words, why not? Well, when wrong, why can't you figure this out?
We need words,
it means
dude.
two different things.
Right. Well, it's like anything. When things are going to the crapper, you need words.
Sure.
You need someone to tell you, hey, I got this. We're going to be okay. I got to figure it out.
But stay with me here.
Follow me.
Yeah.
And really, so when you say, well, I really don't know what I could have done different. Basically, it's like at this point, with the way this has gone, and look, Coach Maneri seems like a very friendly guy who just tells you what he thinks in a very, very like grandfatherly, mellow kind of way.
Sure, he's got great stories.
And the stories are good. But I almost feel like right now less is more.
Yes.
Because nothing you're going to say is going to be the right thing. We've all been in that point in a relationship, right?
Sure.
It's time to just button it up and walk in the other room, right?
Yep.
And I think for Coach, because right now no matter what you say is not right, it's almost like this, ready? All I'll say is this, I need to do a better job next year in coaching this baseball team. Next question.
Yep.
Less is more at this point, I believe. All right, Firehouse Sub text the hour, 803-404-6100 on the Halftime Show with Terry Ford and Tyler Head and David Dare. We go 3 on the game. Halftime show. Time to get our Firehouse Sub text the hour 803-404-6100. What you got there, my man?
All right. Let's see here. Bill in Hartsville says you would have hope with a new coach going into another season, unlike going into another season with what we have now.
I understand that. I do.
There you go.
I totally understand that. In the idea of hope, right now you think, okay, if you run this back with the same coaching staff you just saw this year, so you don't have any hope that it's going to get better because it was so bad. I get it. I do.
And I guess it would depend on, hey, what's the new head coach? What has he done? What's he accomplished? Did he take a team to Omaha, or is he a no-name? You know what I mean? It depends.
And you just never know. Like, again, you hire a coach, you think you know what you don't know. You just don't.
Again, we had a long list of guys last year that were candidates for this job before Maneri ended up getting it. And if any of those guys came out and had a struggle in year number one, we wouldn't be taking it this hard. Because, like, all right, okay, you stepped up in competition level. It's the SEC. It's tough. We'll give you a pass, a mulligan for year number one. But with Maneri, that wasn't supposed to happen.
Right. And this did to the extent and the level that it did.
Yeah.
And it didn't get better. It got worse.
Historically bad.
Yeah, historically bad. And so I get that text about, we don't have hope right now. There's part of this fan base that has no hope that Coach Maneri will make it better in year two. They just have no hope at this point. So I got one.
All right.
Mr. Happy.
All right.
Who contacts us regularly because I guess he has really nothing better to do but to be miserable. Mr. Happy says, wait a minute, you guys just said that he needs words and now you're saying that he should say that less is more. What we're trying to say is this, and we probably didn't do it in the best way possible. We're saying you need to hear from someone when things are bad, but when things reach a certain point, it's almost like, okay, you need to now stop talking because nothing you say is going to make anybody happy.
Sure.
It's like you do it, you're trying to, like, in a relationship. You're trying to make things better and make things better, and all you're doing when you're trying to say it and make things better is what are you doing?
Yeah,
Making it worse.
You're just putting your foot in your mouth further.
Exactly. So at some point, I guess what we should have said so that Mr. Happy would, be happy.
Yeah.
I should have said this. On second thought, Tyler, forget it. Maybe he just didn't say anything else. That's what I should have said, because that's what I was implying. But since I just implied it and didn't say it word for word, because, Mr. Happy does take a transcript of everything we say.
Sure.
The
Nobody listens
point was, on second thought, maybe you shouldn't say anything because everything you're saying is making it worse.
Right.
That's what we meant. So there. I hope that makes everybody happy.
It's not.
I know. But which makes it even funnier because it never does. It's highly entertaining. All right. In all seriousness, where this is at and where it is moving forward, and if Paul Maneri is back for year two and it feels like that's what's going to happen, we've gotten little nuggets of, we got to get guys who hit home runs and guys who throw harder. And is Coach Maneri right? Sure. But guess what every program in America wants? Guys who throw hard and guys who hit home runs.
Sure.
And the pitching part, throwing hard is great, but it's not everything. You got to have command. You've got to have location. It's not, look, Jake McCoy is another example of a guy that didn't get better this year. Mm-hmm. That's a guy with a quality arm. McCoy's got a quality arm. That's an SEC arm. But his command and his location and his secondaries, they just haven't gotten better this year. It hasn't been developed. And we talk about Brandon Stone, a JUCO guy. Okay, push the JUCO guy to the side. Let's talk about Matthew Becker, who regressed this year. Let's talk about Jake McCoy, who didn't develop this year. A Roman Kimball, who hardly was even used this year. Okay, each one in itself, you can say, okay, explain each one individually, but then all I know is, as a pitching staff, this is arguably the worst pitching staff in the SEC and one of the worst pitching staffs in the history of the program.
Yep.
So we can nitpick every guy and say, well, here's the reason for this, here's the reason for that. But at the end of the day, if they're all having reasons for not developing or not getting better or not doing this or regressing, what's up?
Yeah, it falls to the program, the coaching staff itself.
Are you as a coaching staff morphing what you want to do as a philosophy to the skills of your pitchers, or are you just saying to your pitchers, here's what I do, it's worked before? All right, halftime show. We'll come back in here and talk a lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour on the game. Yep, nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on The Game. Tyler Head, David Dare, Terry Ford as we go up until 3 o'clock. All right. You have a very interesting story I want to get to because it goes in about a bunch of different directions.
Sure.
When it comes to what's going on in the state of Ohio.
Yes.
About noon kickoffs.
Yes, I do.
Now, on the surface, feels like a nothing burger. Then some state politician is trying to cozy up to his constituents and kind of set his football schedule to watch, or he has tickets or whatever the case. But this is a thing once you get past the first layer of it. So go ahead.
Yeah, so representative in the state of Ohio, Tex Fisher, has introduced a proposal that will prevent Ohio State games from starting before 3:30 Eastern time whenever they play another state university or if both teams are ranked inside the top 10. The exception would be the Michigan game at the end of the year, which has traditionally been a noon game. Any broadcaster that is not able to abide by this would result in a $10 million fine to the host team's conference or the television network, depending on who scheduled the game. This is a bill proposal in the state of Ohio because Ohio State keeps getting noon kickoffs because of Fox's deal with the Big Ten.
Right. Because there's nothing in the contract that stipulates you can't do that.
No, there's no like, all right, you have a limit of 3 games or 4 games, whatever. It's like, Fox gets their pick of the litter every single week as the number 1 game in the Big Ten, Big Noon Saturday, and Ohio State keeps falling into that slot a lot.
Right. So at the end of the day, the reason this is done, obviously, is there are two big behemoths when it comes to TV ratings in the Big Ten.
Yep.
And that is Ohio State, Michigan.
Yes.
They are always in the top 3 or 4 when it comes to TV ratings nationally for their games.
Yes.
So, again, Fox, who wants to try to get some kind of, thing going to catch up to ESPN and game day and early kickoffs. Because, again, let's face it, a lot of times that early kickoff game on ESPN is...
And look, for a while, that time slot was a joke. That time slot was reserved for when your team's playing an FCS team or, Alabama's playing Vanderbilt. Like, all right, let's get this teeth kicking out of the way and get to the good games at 3:30 or whatever. Fox said, hey, there's no big-time games in this window. Let's capitalize on that.
And that way, we can build a big pregame show to go up against game day.
Yep.
And now we're going to be going into a big game where game day goes into, Georgia Southeastern, driving school versus whoever.
Sure.
So to Fox's credit, they saw a hole and they went for it. And to beef up this noon kickoff, big noon kickoff, they want the big brands, Ohio State and Michigan.
Sure.
Because, again, no offense to the rest of the Big Ten, but no one else is getting the TV ratings Ohio State and Michigan do in that noon window. Penn State is not a national brand like Ohio State or Michigan. Yes, Penn State has been very successful in the past. They're successful again. Maybe not as big as they used to be, but still successful. But they are not a national brand like an Ohio State or a Michigan. They're just not. Oregon has become a very successful program over the last, 20 years?
Yeah.
Under Mike Bellotti, Chip Kelly, and others. But here's the thing. They cannot do the big noon kickoff. Why, Tyler? In Eugene, Oregon, what time is it when it's noon Eastern?
That would be 9 a.m. local. They cannot do a 9 a.m. local kick. So you've taken all their home games away from possibly filling that time slot. And again, they are, with Ohio State, one of the best programs in the Big Ten right now.
And the rest of the Big Ten, again, not to be mean, does not really blip the needle nationally.
And again, another big brand in Southern Cal, guess what? They can't do it either because it's also 9 a.m. local because they're on the West Coast.
Yes. So they get wiped out of their home games. And, it's sort of like I look at Southern Cal because, again, Pete Carroll's not there anymore last time I checked. And they're not the big brand they were. They were a must-watch football game nationally when Pete Carroll was trolling those sidelines, even when John Robinson was, when John McKay was. They had Heisman Trophy winners. They were competing for national championships. They have really fallen off the map since Pete Carroll left.
Sure.
And you would hope the goal was for Lincoln Riley to come charging in to Southern Cal and bring them back to national relevance again like they used to be. Well, guess what?
It's not happening.
It's not happening. But if they could, to your point, you couldn't use their home games anyway.
No. So you've taken two of the bigger brands in your conference completely off the table for that coveted slot. So now, like you said, you're essentially down to Ohio State, Michigan, and I guess Penn State.
Yeah, and that's it. That's what you got. Unless you're going to go to that phenomenal Northwestern Purdue game.
Yeah, Minnesota and Iowa are playing today. Yeah, that seems like the game of the day.
How about Rutgers and UW?
Yeah, sign me up.
I mean, it's just so they're stuck.
No,
in what they do.
Nestler and Danielson get that game at 3:30 on CBS.
I know.
You know, man, we used to call Alabama and LSU. Now we're getting this.
We got this mess. Phenomenal. Northwestern and Purdue. So I get what Fox is doing, but I understand if you're a Ohio State fan, you know, big noon kickoff, really?
Yeah.
Every week, every home game, really? Because again, and you made a really good point. We were talking this earlier. This just once again circles why the fan doesn't matter in the big picture anymore.
When this is all being negotiated between the Big Ten and Fox and the schools and all that kind of stuff, it probably never came up at any point, but the lowest thing on the totem pole was, what does this do to our fans and the fan experience? They could have cared less, because here's the thing. They know no matter what time they put that game on, noon, 7:30, or 2 in the morning, people are going to watch because it's Ohio State.
And I'll tell you what else. The horseshoe would be full.
The horseshoe would be full.
It doesn't matter what time.
You can be out there grumbling that you're having to tailgate with eggs and bacon while you're drinking your beer, but you're still there. You're still going to go in the game. You're still going to spend your money, and the school's going to make a ton of money off it. Now, if suddenly the noon games were getting half the attendance and half the TV viewership, okay, then we're having a problem here. But they know they've got you. They know you're going to watch and come regardless, so they can put that game on at any time, and you can complain all you want.
Right, and no one cares because they don't. Because it's not about you, the fan. Because we I shouldn't say you. We the fans will moan and whine and complain as we're walking into the stadium.
Yeah.
Because they know they've got us.
Listen, we spend 6 days a week complaining about how much we hate college football, and then Saturday comes around, man, this is the greatest sport in the world. I love it so much.
What's the second highest rated sport in the country?
College football.
After the NFL?
Yeah,
college football. So it just shows you again that the fan experience or the fan start or the fans' pain and suffering or anything does not matter.
No.
Because it doesn't anymore. It just, that's the reality of life as a fan, is like, look, be quiet, root for us unconditionally, buy our merch, buy the tickets, make sure you got the package on your TV from the Big Ten network so we can make more money. And, oh, by the way, come to the home games.
Yeah. And look, we all know a home atmosphere, no matter where you're at, is obviously better because you had all day to tailgate, to build up to it. The lights are coming on. There's just a different energy about home night games that Ohio State in conference play, since they went to the Fox contract in 2019, they've had 5, and including none last year.
Yeah. That's the way this goes. And I heard Boo Corrigan was on, because the channel, the college sports channel on Sirius XM, I was listening to it driving last night. And Corrigan basically, I'm paraphrasing.
Former chair of the playoff committee. Yep.
And AD at NC State was at the ACC meetings and basically said, yeah, there's all this stuff going on in college athletics, and yeah, there's all this, changes and turmoil and all these things about this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. He goes, but you as a fan, just make it simple. Show up and just be supportive, no matter what.
Yeah.
What's that code word?
Yeah.
Show up, make sure you got your wallet, be supportive. Because right now, what does being supportive mean the most in college athletics?
Yeah, money.
I just thought it was... I want to be careful because I don't want to be mean because I've become a kinder, gentler man in my older age. I find that so condescending and such insulting to the intelligence of people who basically you're propping your bank account on for taking their money.
Yeah.
I find it so insulting to basically say, shut up, give us your money and support us no matter how much we suck or how much we flip your life upside down or how much we inconvenience you. Just keep giving us your money.
It's telling your fan base they're sheep. Basically, like, we're the big bad wolf, and we're going to do whatever we want, and we know you're going to show up anyway because you're just a follower.
Yeah, and look, I want every stadium to be full, and I want every fan base to be happy, and I think you are supportive to a point, yes. But I also think when you talk like that, to me, it's very disrespectful and demeaning to the people who are basically paying your salary. You owe them to make the best product you can possible. Not just shut up and give us your money and come sit in our stands, and if we're getting whooped 70-3, cheer for us for the field goal. That's when I heard that I had to turn the channel because it doesn't make me mad. It offends me as a fan. I'm not even an NC State fan. I'd have been offended.
Sure, and again, you got to think about the role of an athletic director. Is they are there to put the university and their athletics in the best position to make money. And if that means, hey, you're going to have to kick off at noon every single week because you're going to make more money doing that, then that's what they're going to do because that is what their job is.
And it goes counterproductive to a lot sometimes the fans' experience or what is important for fans. I mean, how many times? I mean, you hear coaches too. It's not just fans. You'll hear coaches even talk about how schedules are crazy.
Sure.
I mean, basketball, you sell your soul for ESPN, and sometimes what are you doing? You're playing like you barely have 24 hours, so you play your next game, or you're playing your game at 9 o'clock at night, or something kooky. And coaches can't stand a lot of that stuff, but you have sold your soul to television. Yeah, that's the way it is.
Do you think Florida State and Georgia Tech wanted to go to Ireland last year to play their Week 0 game? No, but they probably got paid a good bit of money to do it.
Oh, who wouldn't want to go to Ireland to play your game? Come on. Well, it's like the NFL. I said this last week. No, not to be mean, but they prop up these international games like it doesn't do anything for me, the viewer.
No.
It gives me a game to watch in the morning if I want to wake up.
Sure.
But what are you doing for me when you're trumpeting? I'm in Dublin. We're here. We're in Frankfurt. So?
Yeah.
You're just patting yourself on the back.
Yeah.
Because you're taking their money.
Yeah.
So it's like you're doing nothing for me, the viewer or the fan. I just get a game in the 9 a.m. window I can watch if I feel like. And usually it's a dog anyway, right?
Because they're not used to being up that early. They've been on a plane for the past 3 days.
So all that is, hey, we're making a big deal out of something just so we can take money from some country overseas.
Sure.
And when you spin back the original concept, I mean, Fox is basically looking at Ohio State. You like all that money?
Yeah, you're going to play at noon.
And they're going, we don't want to. Oh, I've got your contract right here. Doesn't say anything in there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And again, what are some of the most highest rated games the entire year? Ohio State games.
So guess what?
Going to keep playing.
Buckle up, baby. Big noon kickoff.
But good luck getting this bill passed.
Yeah, because I always do this, right? Whenever my first thing when I see these guys are getting up in the state legislature, posturing and pandering to the easiest low-lying fruit, which is the sports fan of the state.
Sure.
I always go, how are the schools in your district, Bob?
Yeah.
How are the roads? How you doing? What's going on there? Let's make sure we get rid of big noon kickoff.
It's like, my kid's school doesn't have textbooks, right?
Right. Already, they have no air conditioning and the heat doesn't work. But hey.
But please, let's make sure Ohio State kicks off at 7 o'clock sometime.
Reelect me, baby. Look what I've done. All right. We'll continue on football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. College football playoff teams. Look, there's still, players out there available that haven't been sucked up yet in the portal, but we've got a pretty good idea what these teams are for 2025. The Athletic took a little dive in. Are the teams that hit the college football playoff from last year, are they better than they were last year? Or are they worse? Are they trending forward, trending backward? We'll take a look at that next as we talk nothing but football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors here on The Game. A lot of football in the 1 o'clock hour, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. Again tomorrow, 5:15 pregame, 5:30 first pitch from the SEC tournament, South Carolina and Florida. And we'll talk more about it in the 2 o'clock hour, but the last time these two teams hooked up, things did not go well.
No. Collectively got outscored 39-8, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
and
that was,
including that 22-3 debacle.
So, and again, this is baseball, and, you know, momentum's the next day starting pitcher, all those things, and, you know, the old reverse lock and all those other cliches that could happen to you because baseball is such a long season and everything is so kind of like fluid at times. But it looks like a large mountain to climb.
Yeah, it does. Again, whatever you can do to extend your season, great. But we know it's going to be a long off season of rethinking what you did this year and trying to make next year better. Whenever that does start, whether that be tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever.
And if South Carolina would beat Florida, I believe the next game would be Ole Miss, 5:15 on Wednesday.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
5:15 pregame on Wednesday. So, all right, we'll get into more of that next hour. Back to lots of football, sponsored by Atlantic Windows and Doors. All right, so the Athletic went through the college football playoff teams from last year and asked, is there stock up or stock down? We'll start off with the champion, Ohio State. They do bring back who people think is the best player in college football in Jeremiah Smith.
Yep.
They bring back one of the best defensive players in college football in Caleb Downs. They also are a football factory filled with 4- and 5-star talent. But they're replacing their starting quarterback in Will Howard. There are 2 starting running backs in Henderson and Judkins. Wide receiver, Abuka's first-round pick in the NFL draft. Donovan Jackson, Josh Simmons, Jackson. I mean, they had, I think, 15 players roughly. 14 were drafted. And they're going to start Julian Sayin, it looks like, the 5-star kid who started at Bama and then went to Ohio State last year.